You know that feeling, right? You're trying to find a simple answer, but you're just wrestling with your search engine, buried under ads and a mountain of blog spam. Well, a new tool called Perplexity is basically betting that this whole model is broken. It's asking a pretty radical question. What if search wasn't about finding links, but about finding answers? Let's dig in and see if this really is the end of search as we know it.
So, first off, let's talk about why this is even a conversation. I think we can all agree that searching for stuff online, it often feels kind of broken, right? You type in a simple question and bam, you're hit with a wall of ads, SEO optimized fluff, and content that's designed to keep you scrolling, not to actually give you the information you need. It's a frustrating experience we all know way too well. This quote just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? It perfectly captures that feeling of Google fatigue. We've all been there, just scrolling and scrolling past these endless blog intros and annoying pop-up videos, trying to find that one little piece of information. It's a real shared frustration. And this right here, this slide, gets to the absolute heart of the matter. It's a totally different philosophy. See, Google's job, as it sees it, is to be a directory. It gives you a list of links and basically says, hey, the answer is probably in one of these. Good luck. Perplexity's job is to do the heavy lifting for you, to read all that stuff and synthesize the best information into one direct answer. It's a huge shift from a list of possibilities to a finished product. This is exactly why Perplexity doesn't even call itself a search engine. Nope. Instead, it's trying to create a whole new category. They call it an answer engine, and it's built from the ground up to do a completely different job. So, what in the world is an answer engine? Honestly, the best way to think about it is like your own personal AI research assistant. It goes out and scans the web in real time. It reads the most relevant pages for you, and then it writes up a nice summary. And get this, it includes footnotes so you can actually check its work. It's like it does the most tedious part of research for you automatically. And the process itself is brilliantly simple. First, it searches the live web, so you know the information is always up to date. Then, it synthesizes everything it finds into a clear, coherent summary. And finally, and this is probably the most important part, it gives you citations for verification. That means you can trace every single claim right back to its original source. And that brings us to what might just be Perplexity's killer feature, source transparency. You can seriously think of it as a built-in BS detector. Because every major point is footnoted with a direct link to the source, you're not just taking the AI's word for it. You can click, you can verify, and you can dive a lot deeper if you want to. This is how it builds trust, which is absolutely crucial. Now, what's really interesting here is that using an answer engine like this requires a slightly different way of thinking than just using a search engine. It's not about stuffing a bunch of keywords into a search bar, it's about learning how to ask better questions. The key to mastering this is a feature they call threads. This basically turns a one-off question into an actual conversation. Perplexity remembers the context of everything you've already asked, so you can drill down with follow-up questions, getting more and more specific without ever having to start from scratch. It really is like having a conversation with an expert. So, for example, let's say you're into tech. You might start a thread with a broad question, like this one, and you'll get a really solid, high-level overview of the differences between an NPU and a GPU. But that's just the starting point. Because right there, in that same thread, you can immediately follow up with a much more precise question. You can ask it to compare their energy efficiency and demand that it only use sources from the last 2 years. See? This is how you go from a simple definition to a deep, reliable insight. This ability to refine your questions and have a real back and forth just opens up a whole new world of deep research, and Perplexity actually has different modes designed for exactly that. So Perplexity gives you these different modes, so you can pick the right tool for the job. As you can see, web mode is great for your general everyday questions. Pro Search is built for really detailed comparisons. But for students and professionals, that academic mode, that's a total game changer. What makes academic mode so incredibly powerful is that it just filters out all the noise. It specifically targets peer-reviewed papers and scholarly articles, so you're not getting a summary of some random person's blog post. You're getting information from credible academic sources, which is perfect for stuff like literature reviews or just serious fact-checking. Okay, so this tool is clearly powerful, but is anyone actually using it? Well, the answer to that is a resounding yes. Perplexity isn't some niche product anymore. It's a rapidly growing challenger in the tech world.
And the numbers? They're pretty staggering. We're talking over 15 million active users. And these folks are actually paying for the service, leading to an incredible $100 million in recurring revenue, which in turn has earned it a massive $9 billion valuation. Yeah, this is not a niche product. This is a major challenger. And this timeline really puts it all into perspective. The company was only founded in August of 2022. To go from zero to a $9 billion valuation in just over 2 years is, well, it's nothing short of meteoric.
And here is the proof that this thing is going mainstream. In a landmark deal, Perplexity is being integrated directly into Samsung's new Galaxy S26 phones. You'll literally be able to access it just by saying, "Hey Plex." This puts it on equal footing with Google's own assistant on millions and millions of devices.
So, does all of this mean that traditional search is obsolete? Is Google toast? Well, not so fast. Both of these approaches have their own unique strengths and their own unique weaknesses.
Look, no tool is perfect, right? But they fail in very different ways. Perplexity's biggest risk is what we call an AI hallucination. It can say something that's just flat out wrong, but with total confidence. That's why checking those citations is so important. Google's weakness, on the other hand, is all that SEO spam. It doesn't usually lie to you, but it often promotes low-quality content that's just really good at gaming the system.
So, back to our big question, is the era of the blue link finally over? Perplexity is making a very powerful case that for a lot of our questions, the answer is a firm yes. But the future probably isn't about one completely replacing the other. It's more about having the right tool for the right job, the directory versus the answer. And for the very first time, that choice is truly in our hands.